Hi everyone, my name is Deepak, and today we made this COVID-19 application to make sure whenever you travel, you check your safety first with this COVID-19. And with this meet today, we have James, Joy, and Yuko in team for COVID-19. And James will give you the brief idea about this project, what we try to accomplish with this project.
Despite our best efforts to stay safe, essential travel comes with risk. This includes trips to the grocery store, convenience store trips, and more. When we're carrying out these everyday tasks, we need a way to stay as safe as possible. And what better way to do this than proactively? Effective trip planning can massively decrease risk of COVID exposure, so we developed a tool to do this automatically. By providing your location and a desired destination, AVOID-19 determines the risk of your entire trip from the moment you step out of your house to the moment you return. This risk is represented by a risk score, which will be calculated based on the number of people you are expected to encounter on your trip and the risk of exposure from each encounter. The number of people you are expected to encounter will be calculated using both population density and transit information, alongside how many people are anticipated to be at your destination. The risk of exposure from each encounter will be calculated using the number of active infections in your area and your proximity to known public exposure sites. Taking this risk score into account, AVOID-19 provides alternative destinations if the risk is high, and tips for your travel, like times at which your location is least busy. But following this advice, you're able to minimize the risk of your essential travel.
So we hope the application can help you make the best decisions by choosing the best transportation line, the best location, and the best time. So for example, for the transportation, we hope to avoid the bus lines that pass through exposed communities. And for location, we hope to minimize the infection risk by offering alternative shop recommendations. And we'll also use the crowdedness API to select the best times that there aren't as many people to minimize the risk of exposure. So other products that exist is the Google Map. So it has the feature called transit crowdedness and store crowdedness. However, they have their shortcomings as well. For example, the transit crowdedness is not available for many bus lines, and they do not consider exposure events and their location. So if a bus passed through an exposed community, it would be safe to assume that it will probably carry a higher infection risk. For the store crowdedness feature, it does not display regional COVID cases. So we cannot know whether this shop is close to any exposure events. And also it does not recommend alternatives, and the user must manually search through all the alternatives nearby and then check the business of each shop.
So how we made this possible? We use React.js and Next.js and Vercel to develop this application, and we who are hosting this application on Vercel. As a backend, we use Firebase to store our database, and also we use Volume, OS/NX, and Google Maps API, and also the best time API to predict some of this time and generate these maps. As a data source, we use Canadian census data that also provides the census, subdivision boundaries, and the population. Also, we use BC COVID-19 public exposure data with using a Python and Bootstrap to as a web scraping. And we also use the BC COVID-19 dashboard to collect manually the regional cases that's available on the website. Some of the difficulties we encountered with this application was we wasted a little bit small amount of the time on doing some flex layouting on our website, and we were not successful that much. Also with the backend, when we are trying to build a curve breadth map, we had to download the census data from the Canadian government and struggle while to convert that data into the actual projection, and that some of the data pointed to some other countries with the similar names. In terms of the data source, the granularity of the COVID data is regional, but we'll hope to get some more data with some other countries' data sources and any available data source online.